So how's it
I
working
see you more
out?
than my wife.
Yeah. I have some CDs for you. I'll give them to you when we're done.
Okay, cool. Marvelous.
I was thinking you're acclimatized to big Hollywood movies at this stage, Star Trek, Tintin, and I don't know whether when it does come to a $145 million movie, part of a $1.4 billion franchise, and you're up 2,723 feet on the tallest building in the world, whether you do get vertigo, just not physical vertigo, but just a feeling of...
Career vertigo.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is that I think it's like the Burj Khalifa, you know, from far away it looks incredibly impressive, but when you're in amongst it, you kind of don't really have any, you know, you're sort of unaware of the scale of it. And even though it's Tom Cruise and Brad Bird and Jeremy and Paula as well, we're still just making a movie, and it's still, there's a crew around us who don't give two figs who we are or what we look like, or, you know, in that environment, life feels very normal in a way, and it's just work. So whether you're making a low budget movie or a big budget film, when you're just doing day-to-day work, you're away from that whole razzmatazz side of it, you know? It's what's important, I think, about the whole thing. There's so much onus put on the product with this job, you know, it's all about what happens afterwards and what your life does because of it. It's not about the work itself, which is just movie making, you know?
Well, that feeling of I mean, you've worked with a huge amount of very important people and very talented people, and you know, when you're on a set and you've got the great Brad Bird, a great Oscar favourite. Jeremy has been nominated. Obviously, Tom is somewhat of a big movie star. I don't know whether at any point it feels like I'm a pair of brown shoes on a black suit here. Am I in this mix here? Do I belong here?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Tom is eternally impressive as a human being. You know, I never get not excited when I see him, you know, because he's Tom Cruise. But I'd like to think that I'm there because I haven't won a competition. Do you know what I mean? I've worked very hard, and I was asked to do these films. You know, I didn't sort of like apply, and my name wasn't picked out of a hat. So I constantly think, okay, I should be here.
This wasn't
here.
Jimmy Savile, no.
No.
Was that not you? I thought that was you who did a
Hollywood
Hollywood career. I'll fix it.
It does feel like that sometimes. You just think, this is everything I wanted when I was a kid. You know, to be, but at the same time, you know, you have, it is a job of work, and you have to just think, okay, I'm here for a reason, and not to freak out, and get on with it, and know that it's right that you're there, you know.
I was thinking about your character, like Benji by name, Benji by nature. There's a sense of him being a kind of, you know, somewhat comic relief, you know, a little bit more Mr. Bean than Mr. Bond, and I don't know, for you, there's kind of room to be able to say, well, you know, I want to obviously move on beyond just being the comic guy, because you know, you're part of a team, and you've passed your field exam, and
yeah.
I don't know if these are things that you can discuss and say, I'd like him to move forward in this one, move on.
Well, the thing is, in this movie, is Benji is new in the field. You know, he's like a puppy, really, compared to old dog Ethan. You know, and he's kind of, I always say, you know, joke that Benji's relationship with Ethan is like my relationship with Tom. You know, I mean, that conversation Benji has with Ethan at the Kremlin when he's saying, "This is really good to be with you," you know, that could be me talking to Tom, you know, because he's so cool to work with, and you know, you're always aware of his status as an actor. But I like that role. As for Benji, it's important that he is that role. This is 120 minutes or whatever it is of quite tense action, and it's necessary to prick it every now and again with some comedy, because otherwise it's exhausting. You can't hold your breath for nearly 2 hours. It's painful. And Brad Bird is an expert at punctuating action with comedy, and you know, that's my forte. So they brought me in for that reason.
I was thinking, Mr. Incredible himself, Brad Bird, he's making the transition into live action. He's one of the most sort of, I think, you know, respected, and rightly so, relatively new directors with the Iron Giant, Incredibles, and Ratatouille. He's making his leap to live action. In a way, for Tom, it's an important movie. It's like a comeback fight in a way. It's his big franchise. It's a big budget movie. I don't know whether those elements are kind of, you're aware on set. It's important for these guys this movie works, because they're both sort of, you know, having to prove themselves here.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's weird with Brad, when his name came up, I thought, what a stroke of genius, because there's none of the talents he demonstrates in any of his animated films are not applicable to live action. It's all about staging and pacing and rhythm and character. All of those things he can easily transfer. So JJ and Tom, whose idea it was to call Brad, I think made a superb decision. I think with Tom, you know, yeah, Tom's had this weird little period where, you know, there's been a kind of wobble. I don't know why. I think people suddenly decided to have a crack at him to some degree. But, you know, he's Tom Cruise. He's kind of like slightly bulletproof. The important thing to Tom is that he genuinely cares that he gives a good product to the audience. He really does care about his audience, you know, and that's why he hangs off the tallest building in the world. That's why he wants people to see that it's him doing the stunts, because he isn't just in it for the money, you know. He's genuinely in it because he cares about what he does, and I think he applies that in every film he has ever been in. I don't know of a time when I've not seen him give 100%, whether it's to promotion or to acting or to what. So I'm not sure what the atmosphere is like on any other set. I think it's always that way.
I've been dragged out. At World's End, when will you have you spent 2 weeks in LA recently with Edgar writing on it?
Yeah.
Third part of your trilogy. Do you hope and think next year, the year after?
Next year I hope. I mean, right. You know, we're never not trying to get it made, and it's always just about timing. But with a bit of luck, next year is the time.
Sweet. Thanking you, sir.
Good to see you.